isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 210118. I've got Ensign Spoon cleaning up my celebration mess on the bridge. It might be a while before it's usable again. Oh, and because we have no crew, crewman Bork is scrubbing plasma conduits with his toothbrush. So I'm not entirely sure how I intend to frame this. It is not scripted, it is not note-driven. I usually write notes for videos. An observation I've made recently that worries me, and it is one that has stuck at the back of my mind for the better part of 2 days, which is why this is an opinion-based video, concerns the mass censorship of individuals and companies. 5 years ago there was a concern of this during the time of Gamergate. Then Trump came along and people thought, well, their attention is elsewhere, so people started to fight. All the while the idea of censorship was still there. Over the years we've seen many rather prominent creators, either for being conservative or pushing what have been dubbed conspiracy theories, being yeeted from sites or shadow banned, instead as a way of trying to demoralize that person into just quitting anyway. You had Jack Dorsey admit at an inquiry, was it a subcommittee, that his own site, his own platform Twitter, is quite happy to predominantly censor conservative voices, which is a tad concerning when you claim to be a site for people to speak, but because of a toxic element within your site, a wing as it were, i.e. politics. There are others, of course, stan communities, sure, haters, or haters. Yes, there'll always be toxic wings because it was originally about people simply telling me they like cereal and they don't like Marmite. Understandably, it did evolve. But when you start to censor one side of an argument, implying that there is only two sides, of course there are more usually, it does come across as an echo chamber, which is a concern for anyone that wants to be able to use a platform to speak freely. There are many now who argue because these platforms are making editorial decisions, they should be heavily regulated and not treated as a platform but as a publisher. It is a rather dangerous area to tread, and I am not entirely sure yet where I stand. I'm just not a fan of censorship, or people trying to police the internet. But interestingly, and it wasn't until I watched a Styx video yesterday, which I'll link below, he made a very interesting point very early on, that Apple and Google control over 90% of all internet traffic to apps, which is dangerous. When it comes to internet traffic itself, it depends on the browser. Do you use Google Chrome, Firefox? Do you use, is it Opera? Microsoft, whatever they call it these days? The list really does go on as to who controls what. Obviously there are differing types of options for those who don't want to use the bigger names. Yes, but they're not as well known for a reason, because of who controls them. Parler taught me something quite interesting recently. And by the way, I did have a Parler account. I'm still not best impressed it's not here. It taught me that apparently Twitch's own TOS, which essentially allow them to police you on other platforms, because they're owned by Amazon, coincidentally, who removed Parler, I now understand what Amazon's position is. It is not one of free speech. It is one of absolute control. And I don't like that. Which sounds so conspiratorial. But in reality, their actions have proved the point, or proved it to be a more probable answer. I don't like that. Recently, Minds received a warning, one they had to act on quickly. Now, I have criticized Minds in the past, but once Parler was removed, everyone's options for where they can speak alternatively to those on the larger platforms, if they're able to still talk there, were reduced. People still can use Gab. I did, because I have very little choice, remake a new account there. I'll link it down below. I do still have a Minds. In fact, I'm still listed as a Minds Plus supporter, I believe, because I still believe in free speech, even if I wasn't best impressed at how I was treated. But since Bill Ottman himself did reach out to me about it, I'm willing to let things slide. I don't like having options removed. Styx sums it up best when he suggests everyone spread themselves on all platforms they can use. And he does, and he does successfully. I myself stick to mostly YouTube and BitChute. I stream on a gaming channel. I have a politics channel, of course, most of you might have heard of, called Moistski Live, new video linked below. When I game stream, it's mostly on Twitch though. But I do have a D-Live, even though many are leaving it. I think Trovo is the new one people are talking about. I know very little about any of these sites, by the way, D-Live and Trovo. I was considering starting streaming games on D-Live, more indie-based games I don't normally go near, but I'll wait for things to die down there because they themselves had to change their terms of service or risk getting yeeted. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I have oversimplified for the main point, which I've already kinda made. Options are being reduced because who controls the power? What was once thought as a more openly and free market is not that at all. It seems oddly very corporate, which does tie into politics a little when people say, ah yes, but who's in the back pocket of corporate America or corporate England? Oddly enough, actually no, I'm not going to finish that. I think you all know what I mean there. I'm not intentionally trying to be facetious. I'm just a little frustrated. The last 4 years taught us a great deal about the online power of many, along with remarkable blind spots from the majority of not only the platforms, but those who are deemed to be the more trustworthy that use it, the, let's call them, authoritative voices. Now that the, air quotes, status quo is about to be restored, let's say that, it will be very interesting to see if any of them push forward with trying to control the internet further by preventing those that disagree with them from speaking. You can't heal anyone or anything if your only tactic is to suture someone's mouth shut. All you do is ensure that the breeding ground for such conversation within another echo chamber merely takes place in a more secretive manner, which I find to be quite irritating, because I'd like to see everyone I disagree with. It could be a principled position, something I've noticed many don't share. It's why there was a rise in popularity, for example, on Twitter of block bots, because we've got to protect our fifis. And I can't believe I had to say that again.